Hello, and welcome to my 50th book synopsis. Very happy that I have been able to reach 50. The book that I have chosen today, I read that book in year 2008. I think my ex-boss, Mr. T. Koshi, was instrumental in giving me or making me read that book. He used to read so many books and used to force us also to read the books. Book at that time was relevant, and when I read it now in 2022, I'm doing this recording on November 3, 2022. I find this book relevant even today. So the book I am going to refer is this: Built to Last: Successful Habits of Visionary Companies by Jim Collins and Jerry I. Porras. I am sure most of you who are in the corporate world would have heard about this book sometime in your career. So this book obviously is about what? About the successful companies, but they are not using the word successful, they are using the word visionary. They are not using the word great companies, they are using the word visionary. So we will obviously have to talk about more about what are visionary companies in details. What I am going to do is that this will be in two parts, because when I wrote synopsis, it became so huge that I not able to complete it in one part. So it will be in parts two. First part we will see today. Today what we will cover is what was the criteria that was selected. How did they arrive at these visionary companies? Because that is also a key aspect of this book. And in the second part, we will see what are the characteristics of these visionary companies which make them visionary and which are different than the other companies. And one of the things which I am going to tell you today is that I am going to read a lot from my laptop. Basically, I have noted down certain things from the book which I would like to read ad verbatim, and that's why I will be referring to my laptop quite a bit today. I will be reading it quite a bit. So let us start with what is the visionary company as per the authors. So authors say visionary companies are premier institutions. You need to listen very carefully. Premier institutions, crown jewels in their industries, widely admired by their peers, and having a long track of making a significant impact on the world around them. This book was published in 1995. So I feel that you also, when we discuss certain things, you also need to remember that around 30 years have passed after this book was published, and a lot of things have changed, a lot of thinking have changed. So please understand that part, keep that in mind while we discuss this particular book. Also, I feel that somebody should take the effort to revisit these maybe once in a quarter century, because that's necessary. I try to find out from the Google, but I don't think authors have revised this book. I think the effort that they have taken was completely exhausting. So we come to that point now. What are the efforts that they have taken? So what is that authors say about the research that they did? We did something in researching and writing this book that, to our knowledge, has never been done before. We took a set of truly exceptional companies that have stood the test of the time, the average founding date being 1897, and studied them from very beginning through all the phases of their development to the present day, and we studied them in comparison to another set of good companies that had the same shot in life but didn't attain quite the same stature. So what were those selection criteria? They are selecting it based on 6 criteria. First, obviously, premier institution in the industry. Second, widely admired by the knowledgeable business like. And please remember, first point is that premier institution in its industry. Because one of the name is Philip Morris, which is a cigarette company. made an indelible imprint on the world in which we live, had multiple generations of CEOs, chief executives, been through multiple product or service life cycle, and founded before 1950, which effectively means that company should have been in existence for around 50 years when they started this exercise. Now, before we talk about the research, which I will cover, how did they arrive at the numbers, they have listed down myths that got busted, 12 myths that got busted. I am repeating it because these were the myths and those got busted in their exercise, in their study. What were those 12? First is, it takes a great idea for a company to start. 2, visionary companies require great and charismatic visionary leaders. It is a myth. It is a myth. Third, the most successful companies exist first and foremost to maximize profits. Fourth, visionary companies share a common subset of core correct value systems. The only constant is change. Blue chip companies play it safe. Visionary companies are great place to work for everyone. Highly successful companies make their best moves by brilliant and complex strategic planning. Companies should hire success outside CEOs to stimulate fundamental change. The most successful companies focus primarily on beating the competition. 11th one, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Last, companies become visionary primarily through their vision statements. These were the myths that were bust. What we are going to see in the next part, we will see how and why when we talk about the characteristics of these companies. Let us understand quickly how they are arrived at those 18 visionary companies and 18 comparison companies. You should note that the comparison companies are not also run companies, but they are number 2. Examples are General Motors, Pfizer, Colgate, etc. So these are also good companies. That's why the comparison between that and this company becomes interesting. So what are the steps that they took? First step, they listed down all Fortune 500 companies plus 200 companies which are small companies from middle layer, private and public, and then they sent a survey or questionnaire to all those 700 CEOs of these companies and asked them, please let us know which company do you think is a great company or highly visionary company. So 165 CEOs responded with average 3.2 companies given by them. Of course, what they did is that in order to ensure that no one group of CEOs should dominate this particular exercise, they eliminated certain names and they arrived at the list of 20 companies. After 20, they removed 2 more because they were founded post 1950 and therefore the list became 18. Second step is avoid the discover building trap or a comparison group. What it means that the simple thing that they could have done is that they could have compared those companies within each other for the great things and then they presented it. However, instead of having compared commonalities between these companies, they compared what are the contradictions among these companies and that's why how they are great. Step 3, history and evolution. It was entire life cycle was evaluated. Step 4, crates of data, months of coding and tortoise hunting. Very funny. Authors have said here that they have so much data that they have 3 shoulder height cabinets, 4 bookshelves, and now listen to me very carefully. They are saying that we also have 20 megabytes of data. You heard it correctly, 20 megabytes of data. I think one photograph nowadays makes 20 megabytes of data. But probably in 1995 when they published the book, 20 MB would have been something very great. The fifth step obviously was that to compare few results and then compare them with the comparison companies, which is equally good, to see why the visionary company is good or not so good. Last point, field testing and application in the real world. At each stage of the research, the output was thrown back to the industry to see whether their hypothesis is coming out correctly or not. And then they reached the list of these 18 companies, which we are going to see now on the screen. And in the next part 2 and concluding part, we will be talking about why are these companies great. I know I spent little more time on this, but it was necessary for all of us to understand the logic behind arriving in these, because that's the critical. So thank you so much for watching me, encouraging me to go ahead. I get good feedback from many of you. I'll be posting it on my Facebook page, Books from My Eyes, on my LinkedIn page, as well as on my YouTube channel. If you like it, please do subscribe to it so that you can get the regular updates. And we will end it with the list of the companies so that you can keep that in mind. And next part, we will start with this list and then discuss why these are great or visionary companies. Thank you so much. Bye bye.